Clean up the streets of old Detroit with an iron fist in Robocop Rogue City. Welcome everyone to another Sergeant Sentinel gaming review video. I'm SSG, aka Sergeant Sentinel, and today I'm talking about Robocop Rogue City. But before I continue, if you are watching this video, I want to say thanks. I do greatly appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoy this video. Share it with someone who may enjoy it as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new content, whether it's live streams or new game review videos. Now, the first part of this review covers the story. Now, the story is set within the Robocop universe. However, it ignores Robocop 3, the new Robocop reboot, any of that other stuff. This basically has Robocop 1 and 2 as the backstory for what we now see in Robocop 3. Kind of like if you remember for the Terminator Resistance game, it was only about Terminator 1 and 2. So for right now, I want to talk about the story leading into Robocop Rogue City. There is, and I'm not going to really discuss spoilers in this because I could discuss a lot of spoilers, but I'm not going to, just because I want this to be a surprise for people playing it for the first time. The story is based on a lot of the struggles that Robocop was experiencing at the end of Robocop 2, particularly with OCP struggling with some of the technical issues that Robocop has been having, as well as some mental health issues that are pretty much unaddressed. While it doesn't hinder the action for the most part, it does add to the story. And of course, in Robocop 1 and 2, we've seen Robocop have issues where he had glitches and other stuff. So this isn't a departure from some of the subplots that we've seen within Robocop 1 and 2. And like I said, it fits perfectly within this universe. Robocop is still struggling with essentially losing the ability to interact with his wife and kid because he has to find a balance between being a machine and Alex Murphy, who he's still a part of. Now, outside of that, the story is, for the most part, very well written. And I actually went to college to learn how to do fiction writing, and I can say that the script for this game is actually very well done. There's a couple of inconsistencies you'll see later in the game. If I had to discuss them here, it would be spoilers, so I'm going to refrain from that. But the storyline is pretty solid, especially for a game like this that pays such heavy fan service to people who love and adore the Robocop series. The script does justice to that franchise, if that makes sense. Now, in addition to the main storyline, there are also side quests that have their own storyline, and these characters and the stories that they have, it does tie into the Robocop universe, how he's always trying to help people and serving the public trust. So it doesn't take away from the game. It does add to it in a meaningful way. As you'd expect, within a Robocop game, there is a lot of action and carnage. Bloodshed, gratuitous violence. You get the idea. Now, like I said, this game basically is in the same universe as Robocop 1 and 2. It ignores that PG-13 shit that you saw in Robocop 3, which I was not a fan of, and instead embraces the Robocop 1 and 2 more hard R type of violence where there's like body parts flying and all kinds of shit, which is great. Now, you find yourself in certain situations where you want to have more health, more armor, etc., and you earn skill points that you can invest in a number of different areas, such as engineering, armor, combat, vitality, different things like that, to help you in some of these levels that will be significantly challenging. Now, yes, you do have access to a number of weapons. Pretty much any weapon that the bad guys have, aside from like Ed 209, you can pick up and you can use against them. And this is great because there's a ton of different weapons. Now, there's assault rifles, of course, there's shotguns, pistols, there's submachine guns, there's heavy machine guns, there's even Barrett 50 caliber sniper rifles, and in one level where you have to face an Ed 209 in the streets, yes, you find a Cobra assault cannon, state of the art, bang bang, and it does its job. It tears Ed 209 up quick, and it's great to see them put that in this game. And in a game like Robocop Rogue City, having such a wide array of weapons at your disposal, it's so much damn fun. It really is. There are a number of different ways that you can take bad guys out. Obviously, guns and firearms that you find, that's one way. There are environmental hazards. There's guys riding motorcycles around. If you shoot the gas tank, the motorcycles will explode. There's propane tanks and other environmental explosives scattered around. You can't actually pick these up and throw them at the bad guys, or you can pick up bad guys that are shooting at you, and you can throw them at other bad guys and just completely wipe the floor with them, and it makes you feel truly powerful as Robocop. Now, one area where it does make you feel kind of small, and it's supposed to, I get it, is the Ed 209 fights. If you have this on the more difficult levels, it's going to be a bitch. Excuse my language, but it's going to be rough. So you really have to use the level to your advantage. A lot of times in these boss fights, there will be scattered around the area, like the explosive tanks and stuff, and you want to use those to your advantage as much as possible. You also want to make sure that you use the little power-ups that you have, such as the electronic shield that limits how much damage you can take. You want to use those especially in boss fights. Another interesting feature that Robocop has that helps with combat, in addition to being able to automatically sight every single bad guy within your point of view, is the ability to turn off night vision whenever you want. And in some of the areas where it's more dimly lit, you're still going to target the guy, but you may not be able to see him as well. This also helps you to see different things scattered around the level, such as incriminating evidence and other stuff that you might have to pick up. And using this vision, like I said, you can switch it off whenever you want. And it is a nice touch that the developers added that really makes you feel like Robocop can see anything and can pretty much do anything within this level. Now, the graphics and sound is another section that I do want to talk about, especially since this is not a AAA studio. And especially since, because it's a AA studio, a lot of people will say, oh, the graphics are going to be crap, or it's not going to sound how a Robocop game should sound. I want to address that, especially since it's unfair, because Teyon, for being a AA studio, the bullet effects, the sound effects, the soundtrack, it's all phenomenal. And I apologize for not being able to play the soundtrack in here. I don't want to have any issues with YouTube flagging my video for whatever reason because of copyright or any of that other shit. So believe me when I tell you that when you listen to the soundtrack when you're playing, they took a lot of sound segments from the first two movies. You will hear it when you play it, especially in a lot of these action segments. You'll be like, I remember that from Robocop 1. That is so crazy that they put this in here. And like I said, so many elements of this show just how much Teyon cares at creating an authentic Robocop game that respects the source material. You know, so that on top of course, a very visually impressive game, it makes Robocop Rogue City an absolute blast to play. Now, Robocop Rogue City is not perfect. Of course, there are glitches, bugs, and other issues. They are pretty minor, but I did want to address that so that people would know before starting to play this game that there are a couple of issues. Also, I do want to clarify that I've only really found one major bug in the game. Aside from that one bug, I haven't really found, or I should say two, but they haven't really been major. The biggest issue with this game, and of course you saw it in Teyon's last game, Terminator Resistance, is the movement of the mouth when these characters are speaking. Some of them are better than others. In this scene that you're seeing on screen, the female cop's her mouth motions with what she's saying is pretty straight. The guy with the mustache, you can see a lot of what he says doesn't 100% sync up with his lip movements, and it was an issue Teyon had in their last game, Terminator Resistance. It was worse in Terminator Resistance than, of course, it is in Robocop Rogue City. I'd say 95% of the time in Robocop Rogue City, you won't see that issue anymore. But with some of these characters, it is a little more prevalent than with others. It kind of feels like Teyon had a little bit of problem with some of these characters and just how their mouth is, like the guy with the mustache. Now, another issue that I had that I wanted to bring up is this mercenary leader you can see in this clip that I'm fighting, and magically he's below the surface. Now, I was fortunately able to kill him anyway because he kept standing up and I could see the top of his head, so I was eventually able to wear down his health and take him out. But you can see how this would be aggravating. Now, my final thoughts on Robocop Rogue City. There is a lot to love here, and it's obvious that the developers, Teyon, really loved and respected the source material, and I respect the hell out of them for that. It's not all action all the time. There are different side quests and other police type stuff you have to do, but it doesn't really take away from the fun factor in the game, and in my opinion, it actually adds a little more depth to it than you saw in the movies, and that's great. So if you love Robocop, you like Robocop, or you want to check out a new first-person shooter game this weekend that is legitimately fun, check out Robocop Rogue City. Like I said, they respect the source material. They did a really good job considering it's AA and only having a couple of bugs and minor lip syncing issues, or I guess lip wording issues. It's definitely worth picking up. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. Check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new content. This is SSG, aka Sergeant Sentinel. Take it easy, gamers.